You know, the truth is more than what you can demonstrate. The truth is employing logic with everything you hear. And I'm here to tell you that most of the history we are taught, things that we read in textbooks, are not only grossly exaggerated, but they're outright lies. Now, do you realize that if you Google something and it gives you some information, I have now found out that it is not always necessarily true. Most of it is highly theoretical and has no ability to be demonstrated. Now, if you Google how long has modern man, what they identify as Homo sapiens, human beings in modern form, how long have we been on the earth? They have the audacity to say we've been here over 300,000 years in present form. That makes no sense. When you trace back our major inventions, you realize that in 1820 we are told that the steam engine was invented in England and thrown on a train, and the train was invented in 1820 via the steam engine, which they also installed on boats. Then, from 1820 to 1930, a time period of a little over 100 years, we invented the steam engine, the telephone, the light bulb, the car, the plane, and the computer. Those are all major inventions that we enjoy today. The cell phone is not a new invention. It is just a perfected telephone that was invented in the late 19th century. The train, the telephone, the light bulb, the car, the plane, the computer, all these things were invented in a period of about 110 years. But you believe before 1820 and all the way back 290,000 years that men were on the earth suffering great handicap, that we had to ride on camels, donkeys, mules, and horses, animals, for 290,000 years until we arrived to 1820. And they say what they call the Industrial Revolution occurs. And we start popping out major inventions like popcorn. The reason why you believe that is because you apply no logic, no understanding. You just instantaneously believe it. And the only problems you might face doing that is having a problem memorizing it. If you're good memorizing this data, you are considered smart. If you can recall it for a test, you are considered smart. If you have a problem memorizing these things we instantaneously believe, you may well be considered dumb. But I'm here to tell you that 99.9% of the stuff you believe, you only believe it because you instantaneously did so. We were programmed since kindergarten to exhibit implicit trust in those who teach us, as were the teacher that is telling you the stuff she honestly believes. She learned it by being programmed with implicit trust to trust her teacher, and so on and so forth. You understand nothing. You only instantaneously believe it. And these people who are considered real smart only have good memory, good memorization skills. It is illogical to believe we've been on the earth 300,000 years, and it took 290,000 plus years for us to finally get to 1820 to invent the steam engine. They're saying in the last 6,000 years, that's when we got our heads out of our rear or came out of the fog and we started keeping a written record and building things and inventing things, most of which we can't reproduce, like the pyramids and some of these cathedrals in Europe where they say the concrete, we lost the recipe for it. No, they didn't. Most true technology is hidden from us, and we think it's released every 2 years. But what they do is they already have it. It's released to us incrementally, if that's even a word, by increment. If we truly had been here 300,000 years, there is no amount of words in the dictionary that could begin to express the technological advancements we now enjoy. There's a saying in the Bible that got me thinking that there's nothing new under the sun. And there is nothing new. There are no new inventions or technologies being so-called invented or achieved. They already have it, and it's released to us slowly. Like in the late 1980s, we were introduced to the Dell laptop, which was a marvel in technology. The screen was so thin, and it was great. And then years later, they introduced these TVs that are also so thin. Okay, you got to understand that technology was there, and it was released to you in quarter annually per profit. They will milk something so long and squeeze every last dime out of it, like batteries. And lithium-ion batteries are an ancient technology. There is technology today that would eliminate that type of means to power something. But the companies like Eveready and Rayovac, they won't allow that because there's still billions of dollars that they want to make off your constant purchase of batteries. The garbage they call fossil fuels and gas and oil, that can also be eliminated by new technology that we would think was new, but it's been on the table a long time. Now, there's only two ways you can look at this. You can believe we've been here for 300,000 years and had our heads up our rear for 290,000 years in present form, with the same size cranium, same brain, but it took us 290,000 plus years to get to 1820 for the alleged Industrial Revolution to occur, where we invented all these things right one after another in a little over 100-year time period. The steamboat, the train ran off steam. The telephone, the light bulb, the car, the plane, and the computer, and so many other things. But before that, we were lost in an oblivion of fog for 290,000 years. And I'm going to get the people who are going to say, well, we did little by little by little by little. No, that's ignorant. Saying that that's what we had to do for 290,000 plus years is ignorant. There's no way we could have been on the earth that long, or we would be so advanced by now. They would have made their billions 200,000 years ago, and we'd be well past batteries and all the nonsense that we now suffer. That would be well over. New energy is not new energy, and when the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun, that's been that way a long time. That doesn't mean everyone had the technology we now have back then. It wasn't wide scale, but it did exist. In reality, it appears that when you trace back our inventions year by year, you can see that it is highly apparent that we as a people have not been here that long. Okay? They want you to believe that some 7,000 years ago, no more than 10, that's when we decided to invent all these languages and all these alphabets for different languages, and we started keeping a written record. That's ignorant. When the Bible talks about the Tower of Babel, that they built this tower that was going to go to heaven, That's not no allegory. There was a technology then that they could have done it. God had to come down and say, we can't let them do this. If they do this, what else are they going to do? You know, that was a problem. So God had to spread them out and break up their language. You know, when everyone can communicate and everyone's the same, you can organize much better and technology can be more readily advanced. But when now that you got all these different factions, you know, and people hide things from other nations, our history is a blatant freaking word salad of lies and exaggeration. I can't get over it. Like, I collect Civil War tintypes. There's some back there on the wall there. Little images, $400 or $500 a piece of Civil War soldiers. Little pictures on very thin sheets of iron with emulsion comprising the picture of the soldier with his weapon. I collect the ones where the soldier has pistols and not just one, and they get very expensive. But we are told that General McClellan crossed the Potomac River with about 180,000 men in 1860. There was no canned food. There was no way for them to wash their clothes. That would have been like a big virus going across the land and destroying the land. There was, and they all held it together with a hard biscuit type substance they called hardtack. Now, why I have a problem believing that is I've searched the archives for the tintype, daguerreotype, and ambrotype images on glass technology they had. The photography was on the table in 1860s. Okay? And there is no image or photo that depicts more than 25 soldiers or a field of tents more than 30 tents. We're told at Gettysburg there were 25,000 people were killed. Now, I'm not saying the Civil War didn't happen, but I highly, highly doubt it occurred. They say over 600,000 people died in the Civil War. And with American casualties, they say all the wars we had after the Civil War up to Vietnam, the Civil War took more lives. Then Vietnam, World War I, World War II, the Spanish-American War, Korea, and American lives, that the Civil War took more. That's what we're told. There are things that could never have occurred during the 1860s. You could never keep one body of an army for 160,000 men. That would be very, very hard to do today with the technology. We do have canned food. These people were in rags, starving, and you think you'd give them hardtack, a hard biscuit, and they'd continue to fight? Where most of them were being sacrificed? These people would line up and have at it, shooting at each other. This is ridiculous. The Civil War was not what we are taught. I believe armies no more than 1,500 on one side and maybe 1,000 on the other fought, and much smaller too. I believe it was a series of skirmishes, disagreement over certain laws and practices. Okay, there's no way that General Lee went against Butler at Gettysburg and each side had 25 to 30,000 men. We are lied to on a scale so great that it would be almost impossible to pick out what the truth is with what they give us. Technology is hidden from us. We have technology so great it would spin your head. But we are stuck in this perdition, lost in translation, because the people who have the power and control of the media don't allow us to receive what is due us. Now, if you really think there was a guy named Isaac Newton who one day took a nap under a tree and an apple fell and hit him in his head, and from this incident, this guy devoted and dedicated the rest of his life to why that apple hit him in the head, when it's as simple as the apple grew so dense that its stem could no longer support it. It detached, the air was not strong enough to support it, and it fell through till it hit his head. Okay, the apple is, I don't think of apple pie when I see an apple anymore. Apple pies taste good, but an apple represents deceit. That's why they always use an apple in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. Newton used it with his farce of gravity, and you would stick an apple on the teacher's desk for special treatment, I guess. We are lied to into an oblivion. The things we are told do not make sense in any chronological manner. There's no way we, in present form, could have been on the earth for 300,000 years, and it took us 290,000 years to finally invent the steam engine. That don't make sense. Then once we make the steam engine, we start whizzing out invention after invention. In 110-year time period, we invented the steam engine, the light bulb, the telephone, the plane, the train, the computer, the car. I mean, come on. We would have done this a long time ago. It would not have took no 290,000 years for us to come out of the fog. People like Leonardo da Vinci, I highly doubt ever existed. These people, Aristoteles, I can't pronounce his name. The guy from Egypt that uses shadows. One here and the next in Alexandria or another city. And that's how we believe the earth is a ball? No, that's ignorant. That's ignorant. That never occurred. Somebody made that up, that story. I believe the history we follow now was concocted around 1890. From 1890 to 1910, much like Common Core today, the whole narrative was set up by the billionaires of the time. The Rothschilds and the other billionaires, the Rockefellers, and we're just immersed and steeped in lies. And the only truth, I believe, is in your King James Version Bible. Now, some hotshot know-it-all is going to say, well, how do you know that's true? Because there are things you can read that you can make sense, and you can apply logic, and then you can feel it. Okay? Yes, I can't prove God exists, but you can't prove gravity exists. But I can admit that my belief in God is based on faith. Yours, you can't admit that because you have no character. And they will tell you they don't know what gravity is in any fundamental way because it cannot be directly detected itself. It has no presence and substance to detect. No known means of propagation of current, field, wave, beam, ray, or particle. It has never been directly detected itself. And they do take into account Cavendish and gravimeters. And when you ask Google, what don't we know about gravity? They have to say, number one reply, however, if we are to be honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. And I ask you to review and check out the definition for fundamental. The reason why they don't know what it is in any fundamental way is because they've never directly detected it to isolate and then study, then harness. We've harnessed electricity and magnetism by current and field. We are lied to. We are neck deep in lies. The truth so far away that most will never retain it.